Hey y'all! Today we are doing the new releases for Valentine's week. There are a lot of interesting books on this list that, there's just interesting facts about some of these. And I realized that I forgot one from last week that was on my anticipated releases list. But as what I should do in all of these videos, and I forget sometimes, there will be timestamps for each genre so you can pick and choose which genres you actually want to see the new releases for. It's an interesting list. Let's go ahead and get started. Our first one is going to be the only sci-fi on the list. It is, I can't believe it's the only sci-fi, but yeah. It is called Hopeland by Ian MacDonald. It's a time-traveling, futuristic saga of a family trying to outlast and remake a universe with a power unlike any we've seen before. When Riza Hopeland, determined to win her race to become the next electromancer of London, bumps into Amon Brightburn, tweed-suited otherworldly guided by the Greys, in the middle of a London riot, she sets in motion a series of events which will span decades, continents, and a series of events which will change the world. So it's got aspects there that sound cool, but the description does not say much, and as you notice, it repeated like the phrase series of events instead of giving us something else there. But it sounds like an alternate timeline of the world sort of story, so there's things there that could be good. And next we'll move into our big one is fantasy. Let's see, is this romance? I don't think this is romance. It's just listed as fantasy, I believe. And that was one of my anticipated releases, and that's The Last Tale of the Flower Bride by Roshani Chokshi. What's this beautiful cover on whichever side of me I put it on? It's a scrumptious, gothic-infused story about a marriage that is unraveled by dark secrets, a friendship cursed to end in tragedy, and the danger of believing in fairy tales. Once upon a time, a man who believed in fairy tales married a beautiful, mysterious woman named Indigo Maxwell Cassienda. He was a scholar of myths. She was an heiress to a fortune. They exchanged gifts and stories and believed that they would live happily ever after. In exchange for her love, Indigo extracted a promise that her bridegroom would never pry into her past. But when Indigo learns that her estranged aunt is dying and the couple is forced to return to her childhood home, the House of Dreams, the bridegroom will soon find himself unable to resist, for within the crumbling manors, extravagant rooms, and musty halls, there lurks the shadow of another girl, Azure, Indigo's dearest childhood friend, who suddenly disappeared. As the house slowly reveals his wife's secrets, the bridegroom will be forced to choose between reality and fantasy, even if doing so threatens to destroy their marriage or their lives. So, the gothic darkness of it. I'm gonna I hope the library gets a copy of this one. I really do. Because I don't know if I want to buy it, but it sounds good enough that I want to read it. So I really hope the library gets a copy. But that's my own problem. Let's do this one, I suppose. This one is actually a collection of short fantasy stories. It's called The Broken Darkness by Teresa Braun. It says, in her debut collection, Teresa Braun explores the inner workings of the human heart and what it is we most desire: forgiveness, acceptance, love, fame, or merely to escape who we really are. Whether we are battling ghosts, demons, mythical monsters, the past, or other dimensions, we are really facing the deepest parts of ourselves. These 13 tales of horror and dark fantasy may appear to be only a matter of good versus evil, but they are all a reflection of the hidden corners of the soul that are often shades of broken darkness. The characters in these stories must face their inner and outer terrors, or else suffer the consequences. So even though they're all short stories, they're all themed in, battling your inner demons and humanity itself, it sounds like. With an essence of fantasy overlapping it to make us all like the stories better. Oh, fluffy kitty. Distraction. Moving on. The next one we have is kind of taking Greek characters and putting them into their own story. Not exactly a retelling. It is The Daughter of the Underworld by Jen Lynn Adams. I don't know how to say her name. Melino, daughter of Persephone and Hades, wants revenge against the god who harmed her family. With unreliable magic and a handsome prince her parents arranged for her to marry, Melino must make her way through the land of the living to discover who she really is. a goddess unable to protect herself or someone much more powerful. Castor, the mortal prince of Sparta, wishes he hadn't made a life-altering deal with the vengeful god. When love gets in the way of fulfilling his side of the bargain, will Castor save himself or the goddess he's sworn to protect? And then another perspective. Hecate, titan of witchcraft, dreams of reuniting with the god she once loved. As she travels from the island of Crete to Mount Olympus, she finds her strength is a threat to those who would use her as a pawn for power. Her only solution is to hide in plain sight until the time comes to reveal her true intentions. Will she succeed in bringing the past and present together to achieve her end goal? So we get 3 perspectives in that one, and we see from the outset. It's a different take on things, and it might be interesting. It is adult fantasy, whatever's happening there. And the last of the fantasy is Tyranny of Faith by Richard Swan. This is the sequel to Justice of Kings, where we're in this fantastical kingdom of, it says the Empire of the Wolf. And let's see, who is our main character? I think it's Helena Sidanka, who is the protege for a justice who is the detective, judge, and executioner all in one, and they are the law here, and they are the only thing that stands between this unrest of the kingdom and what's happening. And in the first book, you're following older her is telling the story of young her, so it's seen through the lens of, age, as you're seeing, what they did. But then when she's talking about it, it's also showing kind of the mistakes and stuff, I believe. I have not read this one, but I've heard pretty good things about it. In this one, we are still following that main character into another part of her life, as she was studying to become a justice in the first book under Sir Conrad von Volt. Okay, so this is the sequel novel, and it has gotten pretty decent reviews as well from early people who have gotten access to it. Our next genre would be thriller, which also only has the one, and that's going to be Black Wolf by Kathleen Kent. This one, the description leaves me kind of not sure, but the main thing that's like, okay, it might be more interesting for an espionage novel set in the 90s is that it was written by someone who used to work for the government herself. So it's from a lens of someone who kind of almost lived this life. It doesn't say that she did that, because I don't think they ever really say that that's what they did. But yeah, it is 1990 when Melvina Donlevy arrives in Soviet Belarus on her first undercover mission with the CIA, alongside 3 fellow agents, none of whom know she is playing 2 roles. To the prying eyes of the KGB, she is merely a secretary. To her CIA minders, she is the only one who can stop the flow of nuclear weapons from the crumbling Soviet Union into the Middle East. For Mel has a secret. She is a super recognizer, someone who never forgets a face, but no training could prepare her for the reality of life undercover. In the streets of Minsk, where women have been disappearing, Soviet law enforcement is firm. Murder is a capitalist disease. But could a serial killer be at work, especially if he knew no one was watching? As Mel searches for answers, she catches the eye of an entirely different kind of threat, the elusive and petrifying Black Wolf, head of the KGB. And that's the name of the book. Did I say the name of the book was Black Wolf by Kathleen Kent? I don't know. So see, it's got aspects that does make it sound like a good thriller, definitely a spy novel book, but the writer's own history with the subject is what might really set it apart. It will have to be looked into more. Next, we will go into the fiction genre, and the first one for this one is Essex Dogs by Dan Jones. This one was actually published in the UK last fall, but it is just now being able to be published, and not published, but sold and distributed in the US. This one is a historical fiction. It takes place in 1346. It says 10 men land on the beaches of Normandy. They call themselves the Essex Dog, an unruly platoon of archers and men-at-arms led by battle-scarred captain whose best days are behind him. The fight for the throne of the largest kingdom in Western Europe has begun. Heading ever deeper into enemy territory towards... This band of brothers knows they are off to fight a battle that will forge nations and shape the very fabric of human lives. But first they must survive a bloody war in which rules are abandoned and chivalry itself is slaughtered. It says, rooted in historical accuracy and told through an unforgettable cast, Essex Dogs delivers the stark reality of medieval war on the ground and shines a light on the fighters and ordinary people caught in the storm. It has received pretty high praise from things that I've read about it. This next fiction novel, though, oh my gosh, it sounds like parts of it might be funny, but parts of it might be kind of dark. In one of the blurbs about it says, imagine if Patricia Highsmith had written The Secret Life of Walter Mitty instead of a heroic daydreams she gave her protagonist murderous ones. Yep. And that is Bookworm by Robin Yederman. It's about a woman named Victoria is unhappily married to an ambitious and controlling lawyer consumed with his career. Burdened with overbearing in-laws, a boring dead-end job she can't seem to leave, and a best friend who doesn't seem to understand her, Victoria finds solace from the daily grind in her beloved books and the stories she makes up in her head. One day, in a favorite cafe, she notices an attractive man reading the same talked-about best-selling novel that she is reading, a woman yearning for her own happy ending. Victoria is sure it's fate. The handsome book lover must be her soulmate. There's only one problem. Victoria is already married. Frustrated and desperate to change her life, Victoria retreats into the dark places of her mind and thinks back to all the stories she's ever read in hopes of finding a solution. She begins to fantasize about nocturnal twists with cafe man and imaginative ways poisoned pickles are inspired joys of getting rid of her dread husband. So yeah, it sounds like it takes a dark turn, but interesting in other aspects. Our next one is fiction / contemporary romance, Christian romance. It had a lot of different tags to try to go with it. And this is Memory Lane by Becky Wade. It's supposed to be part of a series that's going to be called The Sons of Scandal. So there's that. After surviving trauma several years back, Remy Reed relocated to a cottage in one of Maine's most remote islands. She's arranged her life just the way she wants it, spending her time working on her wood sculptures and soaking in the beauty of nature. It's quiet and solitary until the day she spots something bobbing in the ocean. Her binoculars reveal the something to be a man, and he's struggling to keep his head above water. She races out to save him and brings him into her home. He's injured, which doesn't detract from his handsomeness nor make him any easier to bear. He acts like a duke who's misplaced his dukedom, expensive tastes, lazy charm, and bossy ideas. Remy would love nothing more than to return him to his people, but he has no recollection of his life prior to the moment she rescued him. Though she's not interested in relationships other than the safe one she's already established, she begins to realize that he's coming to depend on her. Who is he? What happened that landed him in the Atlantic Ocean? And why is she drawn to him more and more as time goes by? There's no way to discover those answers except to walk beside him down memory lane. I thought I turned you on Do Not Disturb. So that one has, supposedly, it's going to be opposites attract, banty, witty humor, and a fascinating mystery and destiny-changing love. I just thought it was interesting that how many different tags they tried to plant on that one book. Okay, and the next two are also weird. Okay, so End of Story, Everywhere Says It comes out this week by Kylie Scott. I swear I saw it at Books A Million yesterday though. I'm going back later just to double check because I'm like, I thought about getting it. I was like, oh yeah, that was on my list. And I was double checking his dates today before I did this video and I was like, wait, how did I? So I'm going to go double check and see if it's already on Books A Million shelves before it's supposed to be. Okay, end of story though. It says, when Susie Brown inherits a charming fixer-upper from her aunt, she's excited to start living her best HGTV life. But when she opens the door to find that her contractor is none other than her ex's best friend Lars, the same man who witnessed their humiliating public breakup 6 months ago, she isn't exactly eager to have anyone around whose alliance is with the enemy. But beggars can't be choosers, and the sooner the repairs are done, the sooner she can get back to embracing singledom. Things go from awkward to unbelievable when Lars discovers a divorce certificate hidden in a wall and dated 10 years in the future, with both of their names on it. It couldn't possibly be real, could it? As Susie and Lars work to unravel the document's origins, the impossibility of a spark between them suddenly doesn't seem so far-fetched. but would a relationship between them be doomed before it's even begun? So, it's just fiction, but romance. It's just romance. But then it has that aspect. So, I don't know. And the last one. This one, I guess it was maybe self-published, but then it has been more traditionally picked up and added to, because the first one that Google has dated for 2012 was only roughly almost 200 pages, and now it's well over 300 pages. And let's see, Book Depository, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and Books Maine all list this date as this week. I don't know. That's The Baker's Man by Jennifer Mormon. So, if she originally published it herself and then now it is being traditionally published, good for her, and I'm glad that she was able to, keep going with her dream. It's just odd that everywhere is listing its original publication date as this year. And nobody except Google is, saying that it has been done before. It says, in the southern town of Mystic Water, magic is always in the wind and the ovens. Anna O'Brien inherited several gifts from her late grandma Bea. Culinary superpowers, a bakery in a charming southern town, and a mysterious box with a note. Open the box when you need to. You'll know exactly when you do, and you'll know what to do with it. I love you. The night her presumed fiancé crushes her dreams, Anna opens the box and finds magic sugar inside, along with a recipe to bake the perfect man. Encouraged by her best friend Lily, and maybe a wee bit too much rum, a heartbroken Anna sets out to do what she always does when she's feeling blue: bake. She hardly believes her eyes the next morning when a man, a breathing and rather handsome man, is in her bakery and seems to know all her likes and dislikes, her quirks and preferences. Elijah is everything Anna dreamed and nothing she expected. Where did he come from? Is he real? And when he fashions his own ideas about what makes a good life, can she let him go? It says, escape into this whimsical and enchanting tale of magical realism and the spellbinding power of following your dreams as Anna discovers the sweetest side of life. So it sounds interesting though, because we have sweets and baking and romance and a little bit of magic. It sounds interesting enough, especially in February, to pick up something like that. Well, this week's list turned out to have a bit more magically and possibly dark turning books than the cutesy romance I was expecting for Valentine's week. But oh well. The book from last week that I did forget to mention though was Not Your Ex's Hexes by April Asher. We are following another Maxwell triplet, which is Rose and a Half Demon. It is the second one, not really sequel, but the second one after Not the Witch You Wed that came out last year. I hope you found something intriguing on this list that you feel like picking up, or if there's any books coming out this week that you think other people would like to know about that wasn't on this list, make sure to comment down below. That way we can all find out about them. I hope you're finding something awesome to read this week. I have review videos, unboxings, and other bookish videos such as this one. If you haven't checked them out yet, please be sure to. And if you're enjoying my content, maybe drop a subscribe or a comment, just letting me know that you're liking it. Any other content ideas that you think would be a good idea for us to cover? Let me know in the comments. Thank you guys all so much for being here, and I hope you're having a great day and finding something awesome to read. I'll see y'all later. Bye bye.